Greg Bobino. Thank you.
I really can't get over how much he looks like a butch lesbian. It's crazy. Why does he look like that? He's also like 5'3". It's so, and the way he dresses, he's so short, and he's with his Nazi regalia.
For being here. I want to get to a lot of questions that we have that are unanswered. First and foremost is that Alex Preddy approached Border Patrol agents with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. I want to go back to one of the videos, and I know you can see it there, and I want to ask you about what you're seeing, because multiple angles of this incident show him holding up a cell phone and recording it, not a gun. Did he at any point pull out his weapon?
Dana, good morning, and thanks for having me. The weapon, and we do know that the suspect did bring a weapon, a loaded 9mm high-capacity handgun.
High capacity, Jesus Christ. They're talking like MSNBC hosts. High capacity. Oh my God. So much for the Second fucking Amendment.
To a riot. We do know that. As far as what happened in that intervening moment with the video that you just showed, that's going to come to light through the investigation. That's being investigated, and those facts and those questions will be answered soon enough.
Okay, but the Homeland Security Secretary is not waiting for that investigation to take place before saying that Alex Preddy was, quote, brandishing a weapon. Let's go to video 7, because, of course, you know this far better than I. The definition of brandishing is waving or flourishing something, especially a weapon, as a threat or an anger and excitement. That's just a still photo of what Alex Preddy appears to.
I don't understand what the point of these confrontations are from the perspective of the media when the forces that be, the deep state, prevents you from accusing them of lying. Like, the headline post right now from the Associated Press is videos of deadly Minneapolis shooting contradict government statements, which is the lightest possible way that you can say the government is lying. What more can you say? Evidence contradicts government narrative? Like, how do you make that more on the nose, you know? What is the point of doing this if you can't just say they're lying? I know there are people in the audience right now who are thinking, oh, what a bold step or whatever, like you're European, you're British or something. In America, the news is allowed to accuse politicians of lying. There is no legal... The Trump administration could not successfully sue them in court. If Trump wanted to sue them, he could sue them anyway. In America, you can file civil suits for any reason whatsoever. You, right now, an American, could file a civil suit against anyone for any reason.
Be holding, there is nothing that we have seen that showed him, as Secretary Noem said, brandishing a weapon.
Always with CNN's
videos. Have you,
videos.
sir, seen something different to support what the Secretary said?
Dan, I think what we...
The mainstream media used the word lie in headlines to accuse Kamala Harris of lying when she said Trump would deploy the U.S. military against civilians domestically. That's true. Kamala Harris did not have the protection of the deep state the way that Donald Trump does.
We need to take a look at here is the situation in its totality. What happened leading up to this situation? The suspect decided to inject himself into a law enforcement action. What's not being said here...
Better than the Bush era, you could not call out lies for 8 years straight. That is not true, man. Especially towards the end of the Bush era. Like, obviously, there was the big Iraq war surge, but towards the end of the Bush era, the liberal media, they were calling him and his administration liars all the time, like nonstop. But they do not do it against Trump, even though Trump is more dishonest than any president we've ever had by orders of magnitude.
Is the fact that Border Patrol agents and law enforcement were conducting a targeted law enforcement effort against a violent, illegal alien that was nearby, and that suspect injected himself into that law enforcement situation with a weapon.
God, look at that charisma. Another freak of the DHS who has been here for decades and decades.
And what happened between when that situation first came about and the shooting, that's going to be investigated, and we're going to get to the facts of that.
Well, you said yesterday that this looks like a situation where the individual wanted to do maximum.
What explains that? I've explained this before, but I'll keep saying it because I genuinely think it explains so much of why the media acts the way it does. Okay, America is right now and always has been ruled by an alliance of oligarchical and corporate interests who, by and large, want money and power. But there's a difference between the corporatists and the oligarchs. The corporatists are like your hedge fund manager types. They want the numbers to keep ticking up in a predictable fashion so they can make sound investments. They just want the money. Think of them like old money types, right? Like they want their nice New York City penthouse. They want to live a quiet life of luxury. They want to have their dinners, with the powerful people. It's like they want everything to run smoothly. Oligarchs want to be the main characters of the world. They don't just want to be the silent powers that be. They want to be like the guys on top. Think of them like Elon Musk, Bezos. It's not just a reflection of their wealth. It's a reflection of their intent. Peter Thiel is not like the wealthiest guy in the world. He's obscenely wealthy, but there are many people wealthier than him. But Peter Thiel, more than anything, has a God complex, right? Like, Peter Thiel is not defined by his wealth. There are people worth many times more than what he's worth. He's defined by his political aspirations and his desire to be a god. I think that at the end of the day, what the media is willing to get away with, or what they think they can get away with, really comes down to how that, conglomeration of interests, how they perceive the powers that be, and what they think the media should be allowed to do or say. How well they think they can use that presidential candidate as a vessel. I think that corporatists historically have always been 50-50 on Republicans and Democrats because for the most part, the system keeps running fine regardless of who's in charge, right? It could be Clinton, it could be Bush Sr., it could be Bush Jr., it could be Reagan, whatever. The stock market goes up, you have your bumps and your dips. In the long run, everything evens out, right? But the oligarchs who want everything, and everything, they want everything in the world, everything, right? Elon he wants to own Mars, man. Like, they want everything. For them, Trump is the guy. Because only Trump is audacious enough to give them the cover that they need to take what they want. Trump offers them something unique that can't really be replicated by other administrations. It's also historically why business magnates have fallen behind fascists. Even though Weimar Germany would have still produced massive economic returns for the business owners in Germany, right? Like, it's not as though business owners in Weimar Germany weren't making money, In the long run, Hitler's Germany would end up ruining their businesses, of course. A lot of them would end up getting literally bombed out or acquired by the Allies. But a lot of these people, they want everything. And Kamala Harris can never offer them everything. Biden can never offer them anything. Neither could Bush or any of those guys. Trump is the only person who is aggressive enough and leads an administration crazy enough to potentially set them up for this. Is there anything you think would lead to Dems or media freaking out appropriately? No, I think these people are completely captured. I don't think there's that. If there ever is a big turn against Trump, it will be because the powers that be have dropped them. I think that these people would defend or legitimize or justify literally anything. They will always follow their orders. If they turn against Trump, it will be because they were told they could.
Damage and massacre law enforcement. What evidence do you have that he wanted to massacre law enforcement? Because all the videos that we have, and we just have a still shot up now, but I do, control room, want to play one of the other videos. Let's play video number 1 again.
Why would a journalist willingly work in a culture like this? To make money? I don't know what you mean. They get to be powerful, wealthy, well-connected. Same reason anyone... The honest journalists do not make it very far in this industry. I've been having a lot of meetings with politicians. They all seem so retarded on this. They seem to think they're helpless. Of course they do, because they understand what they're up against. They understand that, like, all it would take would be for them to fall into disfavor, for all of their funding to dry up, for everything to turn against them. Look at how hard Mamdani had to work in order to overcome the powers that be set against him. Every day of his candidacy, every day of his campaign, you wake up 1,000 media personalities are calling him anti-Semitic. From the moderators of his fucking debate, asking him incredulously if he would go to Israel, to the people covering him, to random like NBC, ABC, CNN, MSNBC reporters saying weird shit like he's betraying Jewish New Yorkers for not supporting their president, even though they're not Israeli. It's deep state shit. Man, it's not just everyone randomly being incompetent or biased in the same direction. They have marching orders. What we're seeing right now in CBS News is just a stupid, low IQ version of what's been playing out all across the news for decades, right? You see Barry Weiss being put in charge as a czar over CBS News, directly overriding and contradicting the will of the people beneath her, appointing her own toadies to run CBS late night evening news, to run with like state approved media narratives. All we're seeing in CBS is just a more obvious, open version of the corruption that's taken place in other institutions before, you know?
It doesn't look anything like he's trying to massacre law enforcement. In fact, he was filming, and then it looked like he was trying to help another individual there who was pushed down by law enforcement, and then they went after him.
In fact, I believe that the fantastic...
They're going to get us killed, man. They don't care. They want you dead. They don't give a shit, man. They get paid lots and lots and lots and lots of money to do what they do.
Training that our law enforcement partners have, the fact that they're highly trained, prevented any specific shootings of law enforcement. So good job for our law enforcement in taking him down before he was able to do that. And again, Dana, let's look at why he was there in the first place. Was he simply walking by and just happened to walk into a law enforcement situation and try to direct traffic and stand in the middle of the road and then assault, delay, and obstruct law enforcement? Or was he there for a reason? Did he fall victim to that violent and heated rhetoric by a Mayor Fry, a Governor Waltz? Look, Dana, they're trying to portray Border Patrol agents and ICE agents as Gestapo, Nazi, and many other words. Did this individual fall victim, as many others have, to that type of heated rhetoric?
I want to stay focused on this incident right now, because what you were saying is that he went there to try to stop this law enforcement operation. All of the video that we have seen shows him documenting it with his cell phone, which is a lawful thing to do. And the only time he seemed to interact with law enforcement is when they went after him.
Why would he say that? Because he knows that she can't call him a liar. I mean, I guess ultimately that's the reason why the Trump administration people still feel comfortable going to the media, even though they have really difficult to defend cases, which is just like they know that they're protected.
He was trying to help an individual who law enforcement pushed down. So where do you have the evidence to show that he was trying to impede that law enforcement operation?
Sure, Dana, first he was there in the scene. He was in the scene actively impeding and assaulting law enforcement to the point.
But that's not illegal. He wasn't Dana, impeding it. He was filming it, which is a legal thing to do in the United States of America.
Dana, let's don't freeze frame adjudicate this now. He was there for a reason.
Let's not look at the evidence now. We're inferring his intent.
And that reason was to impede law enforcement to the
point.
What
evidence do you have of that?
And here's a good point, Dana, is the fact that de-escalation techniques were utilized during this action. Those de-escalation techniques,
shooting them in the head.
Whether it was physically trying to remove them from that law enforcement scene, that active law enforcement scene in which law enforcement were going after a violent illegal alien, or the use of pepper spray, which is another de-escalation technique. Those techniques did not work. Officers always try to use the minimum amount of force necessary to either effect an arrest, which in this case was more than likely 18 U.S.C. 111.
This playing over the part in the video where he gets shot in the face 10 times. Vaush, this is not working for him. It's really not. Again, nobody's being convinced by this, but I think it's important to watch this because knowing how corrupt and complicit our media is an important part of the recovery process.
Assault on a federal officer or
where did he assault a federal officer in any of the video that you have seen? Because it looked to us from every angle, sir, that he was approached by them when he was helping another individual who was pushed down. What evidence do you have that he was assaulting any law enforcement?
Dana, we don't need a suspect's help in an active law enforcement scene.
When you say
we don't need his
suspect,
help.
what is
We
he
didn't ask
suspected
his
of?
help. That's an active law enforcement scene. He knew that was an active law enforcement scene, especially.
Sometime we should go back to like older CNN interview footage from a couple of years ago to watch them interview Biden officials to remind ourselves of the fact that they are in fact capable of making direct accusations, and they are in fact capable of accusing you of lying, of being abrasive, combative, and they are simply choosing not to do all this, making a willful choice every day to do none of those things to Biden officials.
When the officers approached him, and it's very evident he did not need to be where he was, and he
when
decided
somebody
on his own to stay there.
So when somebody is pushed down and a person's instinct is to help that person, when somebody's pushed down by law enforcement, you're saying that you just stand back and let law enforcement do what they're doing? I mean, is that really human nature?
It doesn't seem like Dana's trying to defend him here. Are you being fair? Yes, I am. I'm sorry. If you do not think that what she's doing here is apologia, then you're delusional, and I don't know what to say about that. Or maybe you've forgotten what the media is capable of doing when they've decided they actually don't like a candidate. She's just asking questions. He is openly, obviously, like, I don't know what, like, if it was Trump called the sky green and you had a picture of the sky being blue, what do you? The picture would seem to indicate. I don't know. I don't know what you want. Like it. It's just apologia. Asking questions. Just say, you're a fucking liar. Well, she can't say fucking. You're a liar. We all know this is a lie. Everyone seeing this video, nobody's being convinced by this. Why? How many Americans are you going to kill? She can say that. You know, she's allowed. They're allowed to have opinions. And we know, by the way, that she thinks this is a cold-blooded murder. Otherwise, she wouldn't be doing any of this. What she's doing right now is following explicit orders from people above her who have told her that you cannot accuse them of lying no matter what.
You know, Dana, every situation is different. What our officers are faced with here in Minneapolis are chaotic, very difficult and violent situations in which individuals, and this suspect is not the only one to bring a loaded weapon to a riot. The situations are chaotic and ever-changing. Follow directions for law enforcement. Don't inject yourself knowingly beforehand.
What are the consequences an American journalist can face for confronting a government official? None. There are no legal consequences. You can do it. They used to do it all the time.
Into a law enforcement situation.
With respect, it feels as though in some ways you're blaming the victim here.
No, like look at this. Does this not sound to you like a person working with every tool in a playbook that has prevented her from saying the truth? It feels like you're blaming the victim. He's explicitly with respect. With respect, it seems like you're saying he's at fault. That's all he's been saying the whole time.
The victims are the Border Patrol agents. I'm not blaming the Border Patrol agents. The victim are the Border Patrol agents. The suspect put himself in that situation. The victims are the Border Patrol agents there.
I want to go back to the gun, sir, because I think this
is just going to let that slide.
Is really, really critical. You can see an agent, and I just want to go to, let's see here, video 5. You can see a screenshot of an agent in a green jacket approach Preddy, and then he appeared to take a gun away. When the agent took the gun away, which seems as though it was Preddy.
It feels like Vaush is blaming the reporter. You would be correct. I am blaming the reporter. She is part of a massive multimedia enterprise, a coalition of forces that have been silenced, muzzled by their capital owners to prevent them from meaningfully criticizing the administration. She is following the same orders that Schumer does when Schumer says that he would not restrict ICE, that every MSNBC agents or pundit says when they say that they oppose ICE in this form, or that this version of ICE needs to be defunded. They're all following the exact same orders. The powers that be do not want any fundamental shakeups here. What we will see after Trump is gone is this: moderate rollbacks on the worst extremes, but the underlying infrastructure will remain. If you think this version of the Democratic Party is going to cut ICE's funding, you're delusional. they might moderately reduce it. But how many years has military or police funding gone down in this country or in any city? Seriously, go look at your city. Go look at any city. Take a look at the police budget. How many years has it increased over the previous versus how many years has it decreased below the previous? What about the military budget? These things only go one way, man. They only go one way. Power and wealth accumulates in the hands of people who have the power and wealth to drive more towards them. Major shareholder of CNN complaining about left-wing bias in the network? Yeah. All wealthy people are like this. John Malone, major shareholder in CNN parent company, reiterates complaint network has embedded liberal bias, like how an awful lot of us white folks say we're not biased about blacks. Thank you, Todd Spangler. Thank you. That's great, man. Oh, wait, sorry. No, that's the article writer. My bad. I blacked out for a second. Thank you, John Malone. 84-year-old billionaire. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Major shareholder in Warner Bros. Discovery, which owns CNN. Mm-hmm. Yep. At least he'll die soon. I promise you that the company that holds the key to his assets is not any better intention than he is. Probably a pedo as well. Almost certainly a pedophile, yes.
He's gun. That happened before Preddy was shot. Why was an unarmed man shot multiple times by law enforcement, by your Border Patrol agents?
Dana, you don't know he was unarmed. I don't know he was unarmed.
Yeah, this guy's got quite a... He was the CEO of Telecommunications Incorporated, a cable and media giant from 1973 to 1996. He is the chairman and largest voting shareholder of Liberty Media, Liberty Global, Warner Brothers Discovery, and Curate Retail Group, formerly known as Liberty Interactive. He once owned 7% of Lionsgate and Starz Incorporated. He was interim CEO of Liberty Media until succeeded by former Microsoft and Oracle CFO Greg Maffei in 2005. And for 10 years, he was the largest private landowner in the United States, owning 2.2 million acres. So just, again, you need to recognize these CNN pundits and all these politicians as what they are, okay? They're pawns on a chessboard, all right? They are all following orders. There are very, 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 very few people in American politics today, from the media side or the politics side, who are not completely beholden to them.
That's freeze frame adjudication of a crime scene via a photo. That's why we have investigators. That's why we have an investigation that is going to answer those questions. How many shots were fired? Who fired shots? Where was the guns? Where were the guns located? All those questions are going to be answered.
I think you can see the screen.
In the investigation. We're not going to adjudicate that here on TV in one freeze frame there.
Okay. It's not a freeze frame. We're showing a video of one of your agents taking the gun away, and that happened before Preddy was shot.
Before long, even this degree of resistance will be sandblasted off of CNN. What you're seeing right now is her resisting the administration to the extent she's been given the permission to. But soon, even this will be gone. It'll be like CBS. All media will be state media, as CBS is now. This is the liberal bias that Malone was talking about. It's unacceptable to him.
We don't know that agent was taking any gun away. That could have been the agents, because we don't know that. The facts are going to come to light.
So you're disputing the video that that's what happened?
With an that's why we investigate.
Well, with respect, you say that's why we investigate, but you're also drawing other conclusions that sort of fly in the face of waiting for an investigation. I just want to also go back to what I was asking about with regard to what Secretary Noem said, that he was brandishing a gun. At any point, do you have any evidence that, yes, he had a gun on his person? Was he brandishing it? Was he a threat because he had a gun in his...
Oh, should they actually call him a lie? No, of course not. She's just asking questions. Why would you ask that? Why would you ever think she would ever make a statement as direct as accusing Bovino of lying?
Hand that put law enforcement in danger.
Dana, we heard the law enforcement officer say gun, gun, gun. So at some point, they knew there was a gun. So again, that is going to be part of that investigation as to what was happening on the ground there between those victims, the Border Patrol agent victims, and the suspect.
Both the police chief in Minneapolis, O'Hara, and Governor Walz say Preddy was legally licensed to carry a concealed weapon. So are you saying...
The only thing we can really be thankful for, I think, is the fact that they have been so incompetent in this mainstream media acquisition process that people are increasingly distrusting these networks, even from the sides that typically agree with them. Or to put it another way, their acquisition of CBS, for the most part, alienated CBS viewers. Their acquisition of CNN, MSNBC, NBC, all of these networks, for the most part, people aren't getting their news from them anymore. And a large part of them is this. I'm being serious when I say that you are doing more for democracy, freedom, and journalism if you go on Twitter and retweet a Connor Eats Pants hate tweet under a JD Vance tweet than anyone working at CNN does. Like, CNN does nothing. They do less than nothing. You by through bullying and harassment, you are accomplishing more in the service of truth than you could ever do right now on CNN while following the orders of your masters. I was just scrolling through my feed. I saw this and I thought it was funny. The extent to which the deep state acquisition of the narrative, it extends so far beyond mainstream media. Nick Fuentes yesterday tweeted that ICE has nothing to do with Israel. In his desire to, I don't know, replace Kirk and be a regime shill, denying the obvious and straightforward link between support for Israel and support for the ICE crackdown on the United States, the Israelification of the United States. He's pretending there's no connection between the two. The lure of the deep state pulls to everyone. ICE is Israel, and Israel is ICE. As Mamdani said, or I'm paraphrasing, but if you feel the boot of an ICE officer on your throat, know that IDF laced that boot. You probably saw it, but he's also wearing the Epstein jacket now. Yeah. I mean, obviously, the legalizing pedophilia has always been part of the right-wing project, but also to a large extent, it's just shock jockey attention getting. Myron Gaines went live in a KKK hood. It doesn't matter. It's uninteresting and not even worth analysis. You know, people unmarried, no children, desperate for attention. Nick said Epstein was a cool Chad. Imagine your whole conspiracy theory being, through Israel, a Jewish elite control the United States through like their financial and political connections. And then on the one time you have it, Epstein, the Jewish Israeli linked conspirator with financial and economic connections that stretch across the United States, you're like, nah, he was fine. Imagine. Anyway, I guess the point that I'm making here is that life gets a lot easier once you accept the warm basking glow of the deep state. Once, if you learn to stop fighting it and you accept that these people own the world and you're just going to run along with it, you get to keep your cool CNN gig, you know? Nick Fuentes will probably get folded into the Republican Party to some extent, you know, along with other people who are willing to ignore the obvious connections. They have chosen to love Big Brother? Really? Really, truly.
It's not okay for him to exercise his Second Amendment right, not to mention his First Amendment right to be there in the first place, but his Second Amendment right to carry a gun. And if you do, you can be shot by federal law enforcement?
No, I didn't say that, Dana. I never said that. What I'm saying is we respect that Second Amendment right, but those rights don't count when you riot and assault, delay, obstruct, and impede law enforcement officers, and most especially when you mean to do that beforehand.
How do you know that?
When you mean to do that beforehand, when you show up to an active crime scene, don't leave the crime scene, and you're armed, then you've got the decision-making process for that individual doesn't seem to be very good. Now, back to the Second Amendment, what you're saying about
they're so fucking bad. He's so fucking dumb.
Second Amendment is peacefully protesting with firearms. Absolutely, I've done that myself, and fully support that, but not when you perpetrate violence, obstruct, delay, or obfuscate Border Patrol in the performance of their duties in an
There is
active
no
crime
evidence
scene.
that he was perpetrating violence. And there's no evidence, unless you have it, and we'd love to see it if there is, that he was intending to
So polite, so nice. Everything out of her mouth, man. We'd love to see it if there is. Could you, sir, respectfully, could you please provide evidence to the claim that not only have you refused to substantiate, but is also just flatly disproven by the video we've had looping on the right of the screen?
massacre law enforcement, other than the fact that he was there and he had a gun lawfully?
He meant to be there beforehand. Again, Again, Dana, he came
He
there.
meant to be there beforehand. Jesus fucking Christ, man. No, you don't understand. This wasn't a First Amendment protected protest, which only takes place when you put a blindfold on and randomly wander before taking it off and protesting where you stand. He intended to be where he stood.
Beforehand.
How do you
for
know that?
a reason.
How do you know that?
Because he was there.
But all he
Because
was doing
there.
was filming
It's
and
very
documenting
evident.
it.
How do you know he intended? What? This is retarded on both fronts. How do you know he meant to be there? Because he was there. This wasn't a regular protest. This was a planned protest. He knew he was going to be there. How did you know he knew he was going to be there? He knew he was going to be there because he was there. CNN, folks. She's still making him look very bad here? No, she's not. She's just not. I'm sorry, like, to us, yeah, because there's a video playing that disproves what he's saying, but she's not doing or saying anything here. In all likelihood, the reason why she's been told to avoid making any direct statements is because the administration doesn't want any of this to turn into a clippable moment, which it kind of isn't, right? Like, she can't do anything to throw him off guard or put him on the back step or make him defend a point. All she can do is say, but sir, my questions, sir, what about this?
Which is legal. He was carrying a gun, which in Minneapolis is legal.
I didn't say it wasn't. And I didn't say it wasn't legal.
So then what did he do that was illegal?
Assault federal law enforcement when he does that. That's an active law enforcement crime scene.
Where do you see in the video that he was
decided to enter into?
Where do you see in the video that he was assaulting law enforcement? Because from everything we have seen, law enforcement was assaulting him when he was there trying to help another individual.
Dana, law enforcement doesn't assault anyone. Follow directions of law enforcement. Follow directions of law enforcement in an active crime scene.
It can't be assault. A cop did it.
It's very evident he didn't want to do that. Very evident that the other individuals didn't want to do that. And, you know, it's too bad the consequences had to be paid because he injected himself into that crime scene. I can't say that enough. He made the decision to go there. We didn't make the decision to talk to him. We didn't even know that individual was in existence until he came into that crime scene.
Yeah, but of the most, like, banal kind, right? Like, Bovino is 65 IQ at best. He looks like a dumb cow. He looks like his namesake. He's just bluthering through this. He has no idea what he's saying, no coherent strategy, and she lets him get away with it because, you know, her masters have reined her in. That's it.
Back to video number one, because you keep seeing that
stupid, wet-eyed, nothing going on up here.
He injected himself into the crime scene. He was a guy on a street filming an operation. He was far away. He wasn't on the crime scene. And what I want...
Law enforcement doesn't assault seems like a clippable moment to me. Sure, then go find the clip, jackass. Fucking argue with me about it. Yeah, go find the viral clip. That's what I thought.
To see again is that law enforcement appears by the video we have to be approaching him and the person who is next to him, not the other way around. And so what I want to know is, what evidence do you have that he went after law enforcement?
Sure. The fact that he was standing in the middle of the road, there was interaction between him, the bystanders, and law enforcement, and again, follow directions of law enforcement. He doesn't need to be...
To be fair, would it make a difference if she was harsher? Yes, the infinite leeway and permissiveness that every institution has given Trump have been why he's been able to do what he's done. The administration is weak, and the people who run it are very, very stupid. But they keep getting away with every bad thing they do because they get no pushback. Every university just folds. Every company just folds. There's no pushback whatsoever. There are so many American institutions that could have ended this administration by now if they had just put their feet down. You know, Silicon Valley on its own, not to suggest they would be interested in that, but if all of the like big AI companies, you could just take Microsoft, Nvidia, Apple. That's all you would need. Just some of the big ones saying, these tariffs are stupid, they impede us from doing our work. Remove them immediately. That'd be it. That would have been it immediately. Rather than their cowardly concession, this like back end push to get rid of the Chinese like computer and computer chip specific tariffs, but like a flat, like a blanket opposition. Again, of course, they would never do this because they're evil as well. But like they would have ended it like this. Universities as a whole, like this. rather than their constant folding capitulation media companies like this. Oh, but they really wanted that merger with Paramount. This is the reason why they keep getting away with it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. It's not that they're powerful. It's not that they're good. It's not that they're smart. Right now, the biggest pushback we've seen anywhere in the United States has been the people of Minnesota. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's all we've seen. The Democrats certainly aren't doing anything. Neither are the Republicans. And by the way, every Republican in Congress, all of them, every single one of them right now are preparing their golden parachutes. They all know that the administration is insane and that it will only last so long. They're just hoping they can keep getting reelected after. That's why they all voted for the release of the Epstein files, because they didn't want to get primaried later being the one guy who didn't, like that fuckwit from Louisiana. Clay Higgins.
Middle of a crime scene. Dan, I don't think you would want to be in the middle of a crime scene, or you would want civilians in the middle of a crime scene injecting themselves into something that is none of their business at all.
Can you also just answer the question about the gun? Because, again...
What the... Can you just give me something? Can you answer gun? Can you give... The gun. Question about the gun.
Do you have any evidence that he was brandishing his weapon? Did he ever have his hand on the weapon?
Yeah, again, the officers on the ground, in that melee, we hear gun, gun, gun. So that gun, at some point, became visible to officers.
But could it have been because they were...
In the holster.
They had him on the ground and maybe his shirt came up and they saw that it was... on him? That doesn't mean that he was...
Pure speculation on the thing that we have video footage of from multiple angles.
That is why we have an investigation, Dana.
Fine.
That is what we are investigating. You're not going to know that now.
But you're claiming that he brandished it without the investigation. Again, like, this is... It makes you feel like you're in a nightmare insane world. The only correct thing to do here is to say he's a pedophile. Say, we have video footage. Nowhere did he brandish it. You are a lying pedophile defender. Or you're perhaps yourself a pedophile. And you should, like, you don't deserve, anything less is collaborationism.
And I'm not going to know that.
I think an investigation is great, but the Homeland Security Secretary said he was brandishing a weapon. Do you have evidence that we haven't seen that he was brandishing a weapon?
He brought a semi-automatic weapon to a riot, assaulted federal officers, and at some point they saw that weapon. So I do believe the secretary is 100% spot on in what she said. Why would you bring a weapon and assault a federal officer if you did not have intent to harm or delay or obstruct that federal officer with a weapon?
You keep saying that he assaulted a federal officer, but again, we have not seen evidence that that happened. It looked like he was on the defense, and again, he had a gun legally. It sort of feels like we're in the upside down where
this is the world the Democrats promise you, folks. An eternity of American political discourse where Fox News gets to say literally anything they want. Like Jesse Waters, he gets to just shrug and be like, we love killing people. It's funny to us, you know? Every Democrat he doesn't like, he can say anything about them. Meanwhile, every left of center, gigantic finger quotes, news network, this is all they'll ever be able to do against Republicans. A wheel of samsara. People in Biden's administration were correct when they said the media was unfair to Biden, but they never understood why, you know? They thought it was that the media has a Republican bias, when in reality they have a deep state bias, and they were getting impatient. They wanted somebody to hasten things along faster than Biden would ever be willing to. And because they cannot name the enemy, they can't do anything about it.
Have law enforcement and conservatives who are very pro-Second Amendment saying the problem was that he had a gun legally.
No, the problem is, as I said several times now, is he injected himself. He put himself where he did not need to be. He put himself in and put law enforcement officers in jeopardy through his actions. These were his actions, not law enforcement officers' action. We had to react to an individual that came there for a specific reason. And again, what that reason is, we're going to find more out about that in the coming days. I'll be interested to see what his reason for being there
What-
while Border Patrol agents were arresting a violent, criminal, illegal alien doing their lawful, ethical, and moral duties in Minneapolis. That's the question.
Well, but the question is also, why is an American citizen now dead for the second time who was there to document, in this case.
Greg Bovino is showing signs of weakness here, right? He's showing signs of severe cognitive damage, which will not be taken advantage of by the media.
And clearly to be there as a bystander, which is his First Amendment right.
He wasn't there to clearly document anything. Don't socially engineer the topic, Dana. He was not there to document.
Appeared
he
to
came
be.
there for
That's
a reason.
fair. Appeared to be.
He obfuscated and delayed officers there on the scene. That's pretty evident to me.
I want to ask you about your agents. You said that this was a highly trained agent who had been serving on Border Patrol for 8 years. What was he trained for? Because these are your Border Patrol agents, and they're now in the interior of the country, in American cities. Was he trained in urban policing?
Yes, all of our Border Patrol agents are trained in all for all types of environments, including urban policing. This particular Border Patrol agent had 8 years with some specific skill sets there with both firearms and less lethal munitions. Also, let's take a look at the training and the environments that Border Patrol agents operate in. We operate in places like San Diego, California, Tucson, Arizona, New Orleans. All those have Border Patrol sectors. Detroit, Michigan.
I'm depressed.
We've got Border Patrol sectors in Buffalo. So this myth, and I saw this just last night on CNN, this myth that Border Patrol agents don't work in urban areas is just that. It's a myth. We're well adept at...
Love that Democrats continue to push the narrative that the problem with ICE agents is that they're undertrained. And meanwhile, every single ICE official is like, no. We're operating at peak training abilities right now. Give us more money and we'll only teach them to do this, but harder.
At urban areas, conducting that Title VIII immigration enforcement wherever we go. It doesn't matter if it's a desert or an urban environment. We're very well adept at doing that.
Is the agent or agents, is it your understanding that more than one agent fired a weapon at Alex Preddy?
Again, that's going to be part of the investigation.
An Atlantic piece came out today calling Trump a fascist openly. Meaningless. Anyone who would only now call Trump a fascist is worthless to our movement and to this country. Until recently, I thought it a term best avoided. Useless. What do they think anti-fascist action entails? Sending more strongly worded letters? It's the Atlantic. What are you going to expect? Just finish the fucking video.
I'm not going to speculate on how many shots or who shot or that type of thing because I don't know.
Are the agents who were involved still on the job?
Yes. They're... these Border Patrol agents are...
Don't slap away an outreached hand. Outreached hands from people like this are only extended to throw you into a deeper pit, okay? Do not accept these concessions.
Going to more than likely be on administrative duty, but they will remain Border Patrol agents. Yes.
What does that mean? So they'll be off the streets for a bit?
Not in Minneapolis, they will, but only in Minneapolis here. They'll be at a different location.
Okay. And before I let you go, I just want to button up one point that you were making about what Alex Preddy was doing there. Do you accept that it is the law that an individual has a right to film what law enforcement is doing?
I believe that all citizens of the United States have those First and Fourth Amendment rights as long as they do so peacefully and don't delay, obstruct, or assault anyone in doing that. And that's the issue here because he was not peacefully...
Kind of a giveaway for him to mention the Fourth Amendment, don't you think? Considering that that wasn't what she asked. Like, he's aware of the fact that they're violating the Fourth Amendment nonstop in Minneapolis, so he just, like, primed that one. God, he's so fucking stupid.
Doing anything.
All right. And just for the record, and we've seen this video multiple times from multiple angles, there is no evidence that he was doing anything other than being peaceful until the
Thanks, Dana. That's great. No evidence. Even Asmongold couldn't defend this one? Yeah, I saw that.
I'm a big supporter of ICE. I think ICE is great. I think they should deport every single illegal alien in the country. All that being said, you can't have ICE. Because I'm a supporter of ICE, that means that I need to have accountability for ICE. And let me explain what I mean by that. If you have a police department that's not accountable, or a law enforcement agency that's not accountable, that basically is the Gestapo.
I can never give this disgusting retard credit for anything, but I will say it's pretty remarkable that his messaging strategy on this seems a little bit better thought out than the administration's. It is not a good long-term strategy to say, we will just defend literally anything our boys do, no matter what. You know? That's like, it's an unworkable long-term strategy. Regardless of, like, it doesn't matter how Hitlerite you are. There always needs to be some line, you know? How's Bavino dumber than this guy? Maybe live streaming really is the hardest job.